the National Park Service or the Department of Interior or anything like that. So that's part of the problem is how we get applications when they don't know you, right? So we're trying to solve that. So the types of projects that we've been working on as our program is trying to evolve, when it was more of a rural program, I'm still working with that, is we had to measure our success in acres and feet or linear miles if you're working on a river. Well, in urban settings, acres and feet is a lot harder to come by.
Yeah.
And so we've been trying to look at, sometimes that means looking adaptively, reusing, like activating spaces. Sometimes that looks at helping stations we've had and why I was given more latitude to work with some students there and with Outward Bound Adventure, and we after school, and then we took them to local parks, regional parks, and latitude. Like there's all types of positions that you can work in the conservation industry. So sometimes you working with revegetating and helping do restoration and diversity of different types of work, and we wanted the students to know that this could be an option for them. So to have that was a pilot project, and so initially to do a local project. We had a couple of ideas. Some of them were around urban gardening, campus, or working on the soft bottom portion of the Compton Creek of one of the projects. We support projects through skills. We're all trained facilitators. I've had several rounds of facilitation training, and I'm now currently in capacity getting the training.
Congratulations.
So we know that a lot of nonprofits need more to respond to the changing environment, which seems to change ever more rapidly. Almost all the organization nonprofits have some need in that area. We also have a suite we're talking about. I'm always trying to get more training. I'm going to hit my boss up for that right now.
Yeah, get those students.
Yeah,
We do.
Oh well, I'll have to look into that. I've had InDesign. I'm a fledgling working at Illustrator and ESRI products. The stake is really both of my were at science degree. I worked as a planner, Corps of Engineers. I understand hydrology and coastal systems and all that. We bring our little buckets. That's how we deliver the grant is through our. It can even also looking at sometimes that's just not long enough when there is because I found that if I'm working with a smaller nonprofit, my partner has like 18 hats. And then something will come up that takes up all their time and they get back to me 6 months later. So, but it's been make an award for our time, and that is, it ranges from 240 to 400.
Okay.
We also want to, I go away and develop it and present it elbow to elbow, trying to figure out and problem solve and work together.
Excellent.
That's our model.
Excellent.
The curve. What we typically do, our grants, our deadline is June 30th. Think of what would be the niche, what exactly, so to help you craft and write.
Excellent.
The years vary wide. So far in the city of LA, so we're pretty lucky. But again, to San Diego. So sometimes we will get, if we get 30 applications for Southern California, but this last year we only had like 15. So do you have any questions? It takes a while for people to figure out what we do, so I get that.
What are your goals on your trail expedition? I mean, capacity.
We don't have their footprint as a national park.
Okay.
So if you help arrange and facilitate a meeting for you to meet with our park partners.
Okay.
But the RTC, whatever it is that matches our to increase programs and as in East LA, then that would become what, because we're neutral facilitators. Most useful is I don't come in as HUD with alignment with National Park Service, which is conservation, preservation, outdoor recreation, application, but I can bring it. And
come to our larger meeting.
Yes, and
that's what we're looking for. Excellent.
But yeah, that's one of the things that, because I don't have a position, I'm able for the group to function in a to reach its partners.
Right.
Because I'm not worrying about doing that for myself.
Right.
Atmosphere of safety and trust, I found that a lot of the other projects when I'm helping to be a facilitator in that role.
A federal agent, right?
Yes.
Okay, so these.
I've never. I have my arm bar and Agent Scully.
The limits, I mean, within the forest, right? I mean.
Okay, so I am with the National Park Service. Park footprint here in Los Angeles with the Santa Monica Mountains. It comes down through Franklin County. Congress for the rim of the valley, which is recommending a boundary adjustment to that national park forest. Has a large, and it also includes the San Gabriel forest. The Forest Service is under the Department of Agriculture philosophy about natural resources, although there is a lot of common ground. So that's a different agency. And a lot of discussion because they do, and they both have a desire to reach a new audience.
My question on reserve. I mean about there are having, but if there's movement, then there's an impact, and I was wondering about what happens with that. Trail activity can you have or before you
Carrying capacity?
Yes.
That gets tricky. So
that's why I have to put.
Actual, are you looking for some specific?
It was coming. It was coming up, Gil, and I was just trying.
But you don't do Metro Trail.
No, but
I know, but that's off topic for us.
Yeah, because
we're trying to process that we have between now and June.
exactly for it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
That will be important.
Oh, that's close enough.
Yeah. So at least you can see what we're working with.
Sure.
Yeah.
I had a project. We wanted to do a railroad trail. Unfortunately, the railroad at that time, having a rail, even though I have a really long, so that was the trail that we worked with. Kaiser was interested in helping fund some of that, but we just told the cities of Vernon, Maywood, Huntington Park that the railroad said Ixnay, so we weren't able for it. How the watershed, was that Jan Perry that was able to put in that wetland?
Yeah, she did that, I think Avalon, and then she also had a project Avenue. It was the whole building running.
Avenue get a Great Streets grant recipient. That's very exciting.
Yeah.
Near the Dunbar?
Well, that's part of it.
We'll just see what becomes of it, though. That's the thing. Yeah.
Well, this is primarily for the people. Yeah, the idea is that, but the group because it'll give you better. Yes, I like the last one. Yes. Yeah. It works, Mike.
Michael wants to talk a little bit about the watershed. One of the major concerns, what you're doing, and possibly part of our proposal for
LA sustainability plan that 50% of the water use is supposed to come from the aquifer. So having to find out who's tasked to do the analysis first, because that, and if we don't get the lung, and I know the San Gabriel EPA judgment, but they don't know how to clean it. And so I try to talk to the Army Corps about how science data become what a model look like. So when you were talking about patchworking this together, the underpinning pieces model. And all I've gotten was, well, Gary Technologies is trying to figure out, okay, well, Gary Technologies is Maverick. But I did meet with Geosyntech, and I did talk to the Los Angeles Basin that he did as a doctorate work at UCLA, 90s.
Jessica Halstead is in the San Fernando Valley about ground, I believe. Are you familiar? She worked for, what's the name of the morphology firm? So I know she's done some studies. Who have you talked to at the Army Corps?
I work with the group called the BIM-SIM group for setting standards and managing standards, more on technology. So delivering implementing projects, but waterway canals and those, there are conversations about tool sets. So I put out there this LA River project, and there's a gentleman, I apologize, I don't have his last, and we had a meeting, and we talked about working with Kenneth on how do we move that in Boyle Heights or in the affected areas around the river itself, so the kids get out of things, collect data, build a hydrology relationship, and start to see that it's a system. station in the high schools. And this is what I was talking about with one of our colleagues with the rim of the valley conversation is what is really happening with the isolated and communicated so that people drainage system because one cup of oil with gallons of toxicity. So these kinds of conversations tangible if they're just at the beginning to the at-risk population so high already. But if you get real world next and using these simulation tools, it's just LA River doing this. What are they talking about? We met with the LA River Corporation and we don't know that data model is really going to be. And that gets to this conversation. I want to classify the system. There's things going on with remote sensing right now. Remote sensing, so real time. It's not a big project. Examples on the ground. We met with the tree people of Los Angeles about just doing all the trees on their campuses. What does their vegetation layer look like? Look at what is the vegetation in a college campus. One thing up here. We're trying to figure out. Okay, we had a policy. Water was supposed to leave the campuses. It was all supposed to go into retention basins and repercolate. But when I try to get percolation sample sets, or I try to get the data to it's very different. Or revisit that tool set.
Did you contact the Los Angeles watershed?
I haven't
They would
done
probably
that.
be.
No. I tried to work through the Public Works Department, City of Los Angeles, and tried to do LADWP and because and we need a comprehensive data model. So I'm a solution. And so my first pass is how do we build and classify that so we can this is the problem we're really working on. Some curriculum for sophisticated. And they don't even believe in being sophisticated about stuff. We're trying to figure out, and Marcel, we're trying to figure out, well, who are the right people that need to know? That's where I am right now.
Just like County Flood Control District have a jurisdiction on the LA River as far as maintenance. They're a huge partner. They've done their own sort of watersheds. Probably Cat Fiski, Emperor, you might find them more willing since they do have at least control. So I know that I hear what you're saying about model, but if you haven't been getting traction and this is coming down the pipe with all of this dollars, I think coming down the pipe soon for the LA River, then maybe you need to pick a pilot project or something and
we did.
do a grassroots.
Marcel and I did a lot of work with the city, and we brought a lot of information, and then this is an engineering problem. It's not a computer science class. Then you have over here, what are the tools that we're going to use to do the analysis? Oh, those are Trimble, a GPS, but there's no classification system. The DoD classification system to look at these kinds of problems. How do you build a simulation tool? How does it stay open so it happen? It's got to be something at your level. God, look at you got climate change going on. You guys don't even have simulation classification. You can't even point me somewhere.
That would be NOAA.
Okay, is it FEMA? Who really says? Well, look at right, Michael. You're right. It's a resilience problem.
They were project funded, so we didn't do. There might be these national programs that Duck, North Carolina, talk to, but we worked very closely with NOAA too when we were doing coastal projects. We had a 50-year planning window, and we would run the scenarios for. At that time was the possible sea level rise.
Yeah.
Of the project footprint.
Their Safe Community Institute, and I showed them the video because they bring all the first responders into the room, and I'm supposed to tell them talking about with Test Bed 11 and how the 911 is supposed to type data and they can get it up on the web in real time. And because of an open data structure in the conversation, the City of Los Angeles about where are Rockefeller-funded resilience is your data that you're going to collect. How is you're going to take care of this? Okay, how is our community going to work together with CERT? I realize no one's synergized, and I really hold at the end of the day the university is accountable for that. So we come here and we talk about environmental education, environmental justice, and then we say, okay, well, what does the data model look like? That's what I go to. Data model. then a data model, I can never build a simulation. So I have to have an open data model for this. I talk to EPA, I talk to Department of Justice, I talk to DOE. Now I'm talking to the forest. Come on,
Park Service.
we gotta get this thing tracking, right? That level of complexity for us to be able to look what actions really mean. And that's what I'm trying to say. Okay, before we spend more money to find out, they would never do that at Ford Motor Company. They would never do that at not thinking like that. It just drives me absolutely crazy because I don't understand why we're not. And I can understand one reason. Well, because most of the community, how things can be done. How can we partner? How can we collaborate? Responsible for this within LATTC? How can I get you nonprofit outreach? How can I get HUD nonprofit outreach? How can I get the corporation nonprofit outreach? Tremendous resources allocated South Los Angeles and build some.
To share that that's where the nation is going. It's actually a mandate from the National Intelligence and Federal Enterprise Alignment. You know, we have data.gov, we have all these initiatives that are aligned their own data before they want to merge the data. But people are just struggling with it. And I think our frustration here to say, guys, we have to make this smart. We have the workforce, we have the know-how, and way or another. And, you know, we're talking with the White House. The new administration are really interested in what we're doing. So we'll see where.
I'm not at the Army Corps anymore, and like I said, I'm not at a park unit. You know that I work behind a firewall, and that there's around, we heard a little bit about emails in the last presidential, lot of push and pull on making information transparent, also needing security. So when you're talking about water storm drains and stuff, I think it's a little more it needs to be negotiated. Maybe that's where
the premise that we don't want to flush all the water into the ocean, our water table, and we want to include that with our waste management cycle. I'm a professional person. I'm teaching students. What does that profession even look like? How's it when we write a 2050 sustainability plan as a city? And I get them about this waste management solution. What does that look like? Who implement it? How do we teach a population to actually think about what a living building is and how we build these?
There are some other cities that have sustainability plans out of
Because, as I said, Los Angeles has two price zones for the housing. That is the United States interface urban development. We do this smartly and rightly. What we do here on a local basis, because we're affected by the global changes that are in place. So specifically, we want to do more of an outreach. So what we're saying is that this is the forum. I think we can track that we can track that activity through this as a case study. That we can then use this as part of our case study.
What Marlisa is saying also, it sounds like to me there might be some forms, there may be national security or something is in here, is involved in it.
Yes.
It's just not that easy. It doesn't seem to be that easy. I think I'm hearing that, you know, it might be national that's bigger than we can handle, you know, hearing, you know.
Well, I can't,
Especially when you're dealing with water
Yeah.
and all of.
I can speak for all those other agencies.
Right.
I'm just
But not
smiling.
them, but them not wanting to come together and share information, you know.
That you're talking about, or trying to do, is really to break down the
Break those
silos
walls,
within the context of the groups that are working here. So what your guidelines assist and let you know what we're doing and how that we're having these kind of conversations. When you have 6 corporations that own 95% of the media. So our objective is to how successful you are. That'll get you a big raise and make sure you have a long-term future. And but you'll be doing.
To look at doing the application process
Of course.
and lining up our ducks and doing any
Agreed.
When the grant,
Yeah.
I want to. I'll be very clear too. We do work scale at a higher level. Department heads kind of occasion where you asked RTCA helps. I'm trying to, you know, bring together a collaborative around looking at water.
Okay. Well, that's helpful.
So that's one possible scenario.
Okay.
But I'm sure that there are and that would not be of any means.
Great.
But there also might be some really other specific local places that you might also.
Right.
Yeah,
yes,
but
and.
also
Fourth of
just
a mile
please do
from the
keep in
system, so
mind that
we can integrate it.
Right.
I think that have two different groups apply to us. So let's say Michael from you.
Well, let's say E7. Well, if it's
Or
nonprofit,
E7.
or yeah,
Could. Now, I don't know if we would be able, given the fact that there's two of us and we'll likely get another 15.
luckily we can help each other, but that's another story
Yeah,
altogether.
yeah. So
Right.
that we would be able to do, we might not. I don't know what the year, so, just as long as you understand
Yes,
that,
yeah.
probably, hopefully sail through and we'll be able to, at least
Okay.
one application. We can entertain as many. We got 5 applications from South Los Angeles that have worked solely, and it's probably not good to give us 5.
Yes.
Because there's lots of good work to do throughout the state.
Yes. Excellent.
So I'm happy to come and put together a more
Structured.
intentional. That's March 2nd.
This is the first Thursday, Marcella?
What time?
At 4 p.m.
That's February.
And then we do networking, afterwards. And
What's the
sometimes
name of the meeting?
Encounter LA.
.com.
A lot of nonprofit organizations come. So we call it Encounter Speak. So you can center. You need to give it a little touch of social justice. 4 years, actually longer.
Definitely time.
My advisory committee.
My speech, I can talk about the project.
So Boyle Heights, you work in the Boyle Heights project?
How could you benefit them for your program? You can think
And the application process, the different programs.
maybe the application, that's a great idea.
Yeah, because I think if we stay focused on the amount of time, we should be able, and even if we get it planned, it doesn't have to just go.
We're not selfish.
Yeah, so it will be beneficial to us, Lisa, for us to go through the process. But if we do it right, then there will be more than one qualified patron.
What I can just get of the program, maybe a couple of cases.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think we major into the city application.
Okay, great.
How long will I have? All right.
And then probably questions and answers.
Questions and answers.
Okay. Thank you. That's
Excellent.
awesome.
Perfect.
Paragraph or few sentences about what your name, a little of what you will be talking about.
Urban labs. Because here's the thing. This presentation that Marcella is about to show you, it's specifically about, but this was actually the beginning point of 5 Points Youth Foundation as neighborhood empowerment through economic development model, the further iteration of that.
Similar to what you're seeing right here, but what about if we were to place them in our neighborhood? People from the local neighborhood, we can do this. And then based on that, then you can start being sustainable, because how can we plan if you don't know what you have? So pick the river, because we said every 1 mile we will have a university. And this university oversees that they will show a lot of interest. And so that's just really quick. We do like a business, one location. But what is kind of interesting, that's why they're called urban river labs, because there's gonna be one happening in your location. There's another one happening right now at Pico Youth. Not a structure under a big grant. They are happening. I have 2 or 3 people that wanna open. So this is basically what distinguishes these little manufacturing, like the idea that we can produce that furniture back there, right? We will use CNC materials. Some students are looking at buying. Why don't you go to a lab where you can make your, improve your housing, design your home. And I think that's the biggest difference. That's identify the project through the geospatial tools, and then you create the courses. So the courses come, I think that's the innovation. So the student very quickly says, what do I need? Then I need to learn how to measure. So it's that kind of alignment. So I make it, makeover, and that will create a lot of revenues. TV show and licensing will be what Michael is talking about. Like, who's gonna have, what would be a better place than having local labs where we have like this repository of data. So this is the relationship between universities and the city or governors that will benefit tremendously. Of course, the movie industry for site location, the architecture engineering firm, and this is how it will, the type of job. And this you can put here government and policies, and then we will improve their neighborhood, right? Operating 1 million, initial cost 1.5 million, and then profit by the second year. So by the year 2021, they will come with a philanthropy. And all of these numbers are based in extremely conservative, like very low fee. And this is the cost of operating each of these labs. Submitted this to the White House, and let's see what that goes. And just really quick, so these are the there's actually the good news. There's really not competition. I see it more as collaborators. But the beauty of some that don't have it all of what I like, where we see it as a comprehensive holistic solution. And this, I think, what we call it SimCity for real. And what we basically the project SimCity will be like a scan to tell you, you know what, this neighborhood really needs. This neighborhood urgently needs a lot of performing spaces because there's a lot of musicians. So we could actually make the product based on what the community needs, and then we will do it. I mean that I developed with the United Nations human rights, human body needs, human nature needs, and human mind. That's kind of like my secret sauce, our secret sauce, our secret empathy, and the right student has to find the balance between the challenge versus right now a lot of students have a lot of background. And the assignment is boring, then they are totally, bored, and then people here, the student has very good and find the best ratio. And this kind of looking at all in conclusion. So this is what we, I was not able to present myself, that's probably the short 12. This is where this is. So I think this is going to be, I speak to some people with India, I think everybody's trying to do how we're going to create these resilient cities. And I do think that who's going to create this workforce. Community colleges because I think that's why the White House is very interested to look at this model, because who's going to put all this in the computer? And this is not going to be a cheerleading, like just kind of video game resolution. It's very serious. It's very regular communities. And thank you.
We have each other. We must excuse ourselves.
Okay, well, thank you so much. We've gone over.
There's two subtle observations.
Yes, sir.
And I found that when we and not use the terms that we're used to, use the terms that the normal layperson is used to. You use too many terms that are beyond their scope, you'll scare them away. Second thing I found is that you have to tell them what's in it for them, what's the end result. Tell them that when's that going to happen. Those are some of the things I've seen as I've worked with a lot of programs and realizing those things. And next thing we know, students aren't coming. So what I did specifically at PCC, I saw that with the rise in construction, baby boomer in particular, are non-transportable. They can't be outsourced. You have to always, so it's important for us to identify, because that's the first thing that happens to a program. They can do it cheaper somewhere else, that definitely will be what happens, especially when it comes to programming, right? We should develop our inspection workforce where they just have a tablet.
And they go do it, and then it doesn't sustain.
Well, they're called 3DI. They're a big company now.
Yeah.
But they have one building.
Yeah.
His whole team was back in India. And they're willing to work for $20 a day. So we're wondering, how can you give us this price, $50,000 to do something to be cautious? True. Yeah. So I've got to get down.
All right. Well, thank you so very much. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Nice to meet you.
No, he's in biology.
And also, he's in movie science. You at Pasadena Community College. You're talking about?
And that's where you have PCC, right? Right. And he does the radio station.
Even it's a crisis in our education everywhere. And you use the word silos.
Yeah.
Everyone's program is their own silo, and they are not.
Yep.
An main discussion.
It is.
For me making that fountain, I had to work with the machine shop, the plumbers. It was like, oh my God.
Yeah. Sometimes I just go ahead and just do it.
Yeah.
Right.
Worry about it.
I mean, you just do it, like you just go door to door. Yeah, sure. But it was
When it was first encounter I came, she was an award from the Metropolitan Water Department, because they were able to bring all the different departments in the collaboration model. Is what I'm believing is the only way we
Let one get.
So we just talked.
You guys were second.
It's a human problem.
Thank you guys.
All right. Yeah.
Like I was saying, is that we, sometimes if you use too much sophistication right from the beginning, students,
More so the communities that are not.
people are already headed for college somewhere that different
But
realm.
but what she's saying is everybody is each one with the right mix. So, and that's what education has come to. The ecosystem now is it's user-centric, it's learner-centric. From the teacher and everybody, it's all learner-based.
That's very true. But what I'm talking about is in the trenches. Our young guys, they do not have.
Is we give them a glossary of terms. This is an educational modality where we get a
But can I
glossary
say
of
one
terms.
thing? Can I say one thing? Because I have a lot of people from Dundee Beach Kids. Chapter, they don't care about tutorials. They want to say, okay, what I'm going to do, does it going to make a difference?
Right.
So that's why we got to reverse these. That's why we got to do these virtualization, because if they do this, it's going to be A, B, C, and D. Then they want to play. For